Hey there, we're Talia and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth. It's the week of September 2nd to 8th, and we kick it off with a new moon on Monday, a new moon in Virgo, and that's going to put us in back to everything mode. We also are in the first week of Pluto being back in Capricorn, the sign of the patriarchy, the sign of ambition and leadership. So lots to talk about there. And Mars is moving into Cancer on Wednesday. We'll get into that. First, I want to thank everybody who has a copy of the Astrology Advantage in their hot little hands or hot little headphones. Last week was such an exciting whirlwind. My voice is a little scratchy and hoarse today, so forgive me if I croak a little bit like a frog, but I've been doing a lot of talking. Me and Ophi have been chatting it up with so many amazing podcasters. If you follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins, we've been sharing about a lot of the ones we've been on. We were on Amy Porterfield. She's our business icon. We were on Almost 30 with our girls, Krista and Lindsay, who started their pod when they were in their Saturn return. Some new ones, Brittany Ambridge's Beyond the Portrait. She's an amazing photographer, and she's talking to her subjects, including us. She took that great picture of us that we've been using lately about life beyond the lens. And we stayed up really late the night before our book came out on Monday night, and we were on Coast to Coast AM, which broadcasts apparently to 3 million listeners on the good old-fashioned radio, and had such a great time answering questions. So thanks to all the podcasters, too. There are more coming out this next week and the week after, and super excited to share those with you on Instagram and on our website. So stay tuned if you want to discover some really amazing pods out there. Okay, so this new moon in Virgo on Monday is a real opportunity to get ourselves grounded, and we're going to need to do that regularly this fall. There's some really disruptive energy coming in, and not just because of the election, although that certainly is going to amplify it. But Virgo helps us to settle down, simmer down, keep our feet on solid earth, and plan, simplify, put things into order, structure, systematize them. It's absolutely the most demure and mindful zodiac sign of all, because Virgo is polite and it's here to serve, and it's always aware of everything going on. So this new moon is a little time to maybe think about where we could tone things down a little without losing our zest, without losing our zeal. One thing to know is that Virgo is a sign of the perfectionist. So there might be ways that we're over polishing things and trying to get them perfect or optimal or ideal or edited as we go, and that can stall progress. So be on the lookout for that tendency early this week. Virgo is all about self-care, wellness, keeping things clean and green. So how can you turn your late summer into fall routines into things that feel more like rituals? You might want to think about time blocking your schedule. We try to multitask and we get scattered and stressed. And it might be better to approach things one at a time. Our brains don't really bounce back as quickly as we think. We're multitasking, but when we stop to check a message, it can take 10, 20 minutes to actually get ourselves back into the focused mode of whatever we were doing before. All those pop-up reminders, pop-up notifications can really be distracting and throw us out of whack. So we want to lean into Virgo's less is more ethos. starting this Monday. And you have 2 weeks to really capitalize on the energy of a new moon leading up to the full moon. And the next full moon happens to be a lunar eclipse, the full moon in Pisces, the first eclipse in a series on the Pisces-Virgo axis that we've had since 2015 to 2017. And the Pisces-Virgo axis is about health, healing, both in the spiritual, creative realm, the detoxifying realm of Pisces that just washes everything away and goes into the subconscious. Pisces rules addictions as well as therapeutic healing. And then the Virgo, sensible material plane, like let's get down with how the mechanics of everything work, and including our bodies, especially our bodies. So it's like body and soul. That's the theme. So I feel like this Virgo new moon, although it isn't an eclipse, it connects to a full moon 6 months from now, March 13th or 14th, depending on your time zone. That's going to be a total lunar eclipse in Virgo. Where do you kind of want to see some big results? Sometimes we can shut ourselves off from Western medicine. A lot of people are like, oh, Western medicine is evil. Or conversely, they don't want to try functional medicine or holistic healing. I love functional medicine because it's kind of a middle ground between, some of the great scientific developments we have in medicine, but also trying to first begin by seeing if your body can heal itself. So this is some planetary functional medicine we have coming our way with this Virgo new moon. It's setting off a wave of us tuning into our bodies and connecting them to our spirits and our souls in a way that maybe we haven't been doing for a while. Then on Tuesday, we have a transit that we haven't had since 2023, and that is Mars in Gemini squaring Neptune in Pisces. Now, a Mars-Neptune square is completely discombobulating because Mars is like, go, 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 action, action, action. And Neptune is like, and like zoned out. Mars is like in your face, and Neptune is in outer space, meditating. A square is when they hit this 90-degree angle, so they're really battling with each other. It's kind of like this T-boning that happens. So here we have Mars in Gemini that's getting us all hyped up with all these big ideas that we want to talk about, and it's the very last day of Mars in Gemini too. So these ideas and plans have been brewing for a while. And then here comes Neptune that just blankets everything in fog. Neptune's at the end of a long tour through Pisces. So they're both at 29 degrees. So this square is maybe going to make you fall into a little bit of self-doubt, or make it feel like anything you say just isn't quite landing, or it's getting lost in translation. Don't be deterred, but perhaps if you have any kind of a big pitch or presentation to make that day, make sure you're appealing to both the Gemini and the Pisces, Neptune and Pisces side of things. Mars and Gemini brings a little interactivity where you do a Q&A with people. You give people a chance to ask you questions, fire off their concerns, or touch something. If you can bring a little test or a sample of whatever it is you want to show people, or somehow just spark their imaginations and get them curious. And then the Neptune and Pisces piece of it is all about bringing in stimulating visuals, touching people on a subconscious level. How can you get them to open up their minds to imagination? You can raise that up a little bit. And look, even if you have to stick to a format with whatever you're doing, you can get yourself in the right mindset, or at least as grounded as that Virgo new moon on Monday wants you to be, by doing a little bit of a meditation or a visualization before you go in and have that talk, make that pitch, send that message. I would also kind of recommend doing some automatic writing. That is when you ask a question to the universe, to yourself, and then you just let your hand just do some writing. So maybe you need an answer like, what should I talk about on this date? And what shouldn't I talk about on this date? And then sit down and write and see what comes out of your hand, Mars and Gemini, and your subconscious, Neptune and Pisces. Sometimes those answers are just sitting there waiting to be unlocked from inside of us. Now, the vibe changes considerably on Wednesday when Mars swings into Cancer. It leaves Gemini. It's been in Gemini for a good long time, since July 20th. And it was really amplified by the fact that Jupiter was also in Gemini. So Mars and Jupiter together have been excitable and communicative and playful. Everyone's definitely had a summer. Everyone's been very insistent on having a summer. After we finished those Capricorn full moons, the second one on July 21st, it was like Mars and Gemini basically came in the day before and was like, enough of this work through the summer. Let's have some fun. Let's play. We've seen social media light up with all the DNC fun and kind of the wit and humor that's come back in. The joy of Jupiter and Mars and Gemini. We're here for that. Now, that's not going to come to an end necessarily at all, but Mars in Cancer is a lot more emo, I will say. Mars is not exactly happy in Cancer. In fact, it's in fall in Cancer. You've heard us talk about this a little bit. These are the essential dignities. So there's a place where a planet is happiest and freest. It's called exalted. And Mars is exalted in Capricorn. That means it's at its most potent. Its energy matches Mars is motivated. Capricorn is go, go, go. Now, the opposite sign of Capricorn is Cancer. And that's where Mars feels really kind of suppressed in fall. Like Mars is body. It's the ruler of Aries. It's very kind of unga-bunga, very lusty. And Cancer is more modest, more private, more thoughtful before it just puts it all out there. So Mars is kind of awkward in Cancer in some ways. Mars is also this very archetypally masculine energy, while Cancer is archetypal feminine, the mother. Now, I actually think a planet in fall can bring a really nice balancing act. So how can we bring together some of these classically man things with these classically woman things? I like that we're having to confront that before this very polarizing election where gender issues are a huge piece of what will determine who votes for who. Mars in Cancer lasts all the way until November the 3rd. So basically right before Election Day. And then Mars goes into Leo. Now Mars is basically bouncing back and forth between Cancer and Leo for a really long time until June 18th of 2025. Normally Mars stays in a single sign for about 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. But when it has its periodic retrogrades every 2 years, it can stretch its time out for up to 8 months in 1 or 2 signs, which is the case here. It's going to turn retrograde first in Leo on December 6th, and then it backs into Cancer again on January 6th of 2025 and stays retrograde till February 23rd, 2025. So Mars going retrograde in Leo and Cancer is going to bring a lot of issues around power and who's in charge, homeland security issues. I did hear that interest rates are gonna come down, they're saying at the Fed. So next year when Jupiter goes into Cancer, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer on June 9th. I think there's going to be a nice uptick in the home buyers and residential real estate market, but we might already feel some movement happening in that direction as Mars goes into Cancer, or even some people deciding to wait on looking for home purchase or home sale while Mars is in Cancer, and feeling a little frustrated about that. It isn't the greatest or the worst time to work on a home renovation project, Mars in Cancer, because, on the one hand, the momentum is there to really get to work and tackle those projects and those plans around the house. But on the other hand, Mars can be impatient, it can be rash, it can jump into doing things before you have a plan. So you want to really make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into before you tackle anything. And knowing that Mars is going to be retrograde in Cancer, and from January 6th to February 23rd, and in Cancer for a while after that, kind of says, take your time, research, plan, get comparison bids on everything, because this might be a longer process than you anticipate. Last thing I want to talk about is Pluto in its first week and its final lap through Capricorn. Pluto first moved into Capricorn in January of 2008. So it's been there for a good long time, 16-year cycle. But we got a little break from it. It went into Aquarius for about 2 months last year. And then this year on January 20th, it headed back into Aquarius, which has brought this new transformative energy in around Aquarian themes, aliens, AI, democracy, things that are more on the progress and future-focused end of the spectrum. But Capricorn is the sign that rules governments, banks, the economy. Wherever Pluto goes, it kind of comes in like a wrecking ball and creates like a phoenix effect where it takes things out and brings them down, but then we have to rise up from the ashes and rebuild. Pluto in Aquarius has been doing that for sure in terms of activism, human rights. The world is not in a great place with those right now, and we're still trying to figure out this whole AI thing and what it does for us. But Pluto in Capricorn, it brought us big changes in government, even though Capricorn is the sign of the patriarchy. I've been thinking how Pluto and Capricorn began with a different kind of man as the president of the United States. We got Obama, who has a very, powerful egalitarian relationship with his wife, Michelle. He was the first Black president, brought in hope, the theme of hope. And hope is what Aquarius rules. It's a sign of hopes and wishes. And so midway through in 2016, we got Trump, who was the complete opposite, the essence of the patriarchal, governmental, old guard, old school, that side of Capricorn. Look, if you're a Capricorn, I'm not saying you're patriarchal. Capricorn just kind of rules the systems. And so the system we've been in for a long time has been the patriarchal system. And so we are on the precipice of change. That's why it's very hard to predict what will happen in this election, because Pluto, although it turns direct on October 11th, it's still in Capricorn until November 19th, spanning the election. We also have eclipse season coming up. We have an eclipse in Pisces on September 17th. That full moon is going to stir up all kinds of secrets and things that are buried. And then we have another eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Libra. That's Kamala Harris's sign on October 2nd with the new moon in Libra. That's a solar eclipse. So, justice, fairness, equality. But what will this eclipse reveal? What will both of them reveal? It's just, impossible to predict when it comes to eclipses. You can expect the unexpected. So this is where our heart really matters. Our willingness to get out and vote, get the people around us to vote. And look, it's not just about, hey, I decided to vote on November 1st. make sure you're registered. Make sure your registration is up to date. Find out how to register wherever you are because it's different from state to state. I'm lucky to live in Washington State. We're kind of spoiled. They just mail you your ballot and you send it in and everything's super high tech, which is one of the nice things of living in a very geeky state like Washington. I think, it just makes sense. I can't even remember living in New York when you had to wait and go behind that dusty curtain in a booth and pull a lever. I'm like, how the heck are we still doing that in 2024? I don't know. But, voter suppression has its ways of doing things, or the archaic ways that people insist on working with Pluto and Capricorn have stuck around. So who knows, maybe Pluto and Aquarius will reform that. But it's definitely going to be a time where we have to watch out for getting triggered. There are a lot of ways that we could find ourselves getting sucked into fighting with trolls, fighting with people who aren't going to listen to us anyways, and putting our energy on the wrong things. So what's really going to be important with Pluto and Capricorn is to keep our eyes on the most important goal, our eyes on the long game. That is going to be essential as we move towards, for those of us in the United States and really for the world, possibly the most important and significant election of our lifetimes. So you can use this new moon in Virgo to really get back in tune with what matters the most to you. What are your ethics? What are your values? How do you want to serve? Virgo is a sign of service, so what's your role in shaping the world around you and helping to move it in the direction that makes room for all the people that you love and care about, and even the ones you don't know, the human family, because we are all connected, whether we realize it or want to be or not. So we'll be back next week with more horoscope fun, and the September monthly forecast is coming out soon too. Ophi will be serving that up for you guys. So till next week, happy new moon, and have a good one. As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com, and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.